during libation also requires the community to play a major role and part in this celebration. So we know it's cold out here, but in during libation, it's going to warm us up a little bit. And that's going to warm us up a lot because we're honoring our ancestors. So we're going to need you to participate by doing what we call call and response. The call, I'll make the call, you make the response. The call will be Harambe. Can we say Harambe? Harambe. When you call Harambe, it means that we're coming together under the banner of unity. We're coming together as one. So I'm going to make the call and you're going to call Harambe. And making the call, the chief is going to pour to the four winds, north, south, east, and west. Once he pours, let him pour first, then you'll see the call for Harambe. Okay, so follow his lead. Oh, let me just back up a quick second. And I know my brother, Councilman Jackson, did it, but I'm going to do it again. I'm going to ask if the chief will give us permission. So we should always respect our honor and honor our elders by getting permission. So I'm going to ask if the chief will give us permission to continue. Thank you, Chief. Chief said, please go. In the name of our ancestors, those who came in the 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, and 20th century, we say Harambe. Harambe! To the creator of all things, big and small. To the elders from whom we can learn much. I can't hear you. I don't think you cold enough. I don't hear you. This is us honoring those that came before us. We would not be here if it was not for other individuals. I don't think Harriet Tubman worried about how cold it was when she was making that trip to get us to where we are now. So we need to do better than this. To those fathers, men who stand up and protect our community, men who take a position of leadership, men who study and honor themselves and honor each other. We say what? Harambe! To our women we call queens, our ladies, the mothers of civilization. We say what? Harambe! To our youth, who will be our future, who are watching us in everything that we do, who honor us when we honor ourselves, who will continue to carry on our legacy, our struggle, and our history. We say what? Harambe! And to all those whose names go uncalled, unnoticed, but nevertheless deserve the same respect and honor for those whose names we do call, we say what? Harambe! Harambe. Now if there are any names that need to be called, who also deserve the same honor and respect, please call those names now.
Martin Luther King.
Harambe. 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 Harambe.
Madam C.J.
Harambe. 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 Larry Doby. Dr. Frank Napier. Dr. Jesse Dixon. Harambe. Harambe. Anyone else? Harambe. 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 Amen too. Harambe. 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 And for all those whose future still lies in the hands of those of us who will make that future bright and make that future powerful and empower our community as a race as a whole, we say what? Harambe! Asante Sana, fan, that means thank you. May we have a beautiful program. And remember, Black History Month is 28 days. If you count it for 28 days, but Black History Month is every day. Blessings.
All right. It's a great honor to be here today as we recognize the many contributions of African Americans, not only at home, but also abroad, and recognize as we look to bridging or identifying the Great Migration, not only that we recognize, as Marcus Garvey says, Africans at home and abroad. So we're delighted to come out here on this chilly day to recognize Black History Month, and we will move to the celebration of that by the raising of the flag. There is a definition, I believe, that the young people would say before we go. Is that right, Madam Clerk?
We pledge allegiance to the red, black, and green, our flag, the symbol of our eternal struggle, and to the land we must attain, one nation of black people with one God above all, totally united in the struggle for black love, black freedom, and black self-determination.
I'm at the right side.
Mama Sarge. Mama Sarge.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Wimberly. Oh, go ahead, man.
Coach.
Hold that one in. Got it? Flying high.
Please rise for the procession.
No.
I'd like to welcome everyone again to our Black History program. My name is Sonia Gordon and I'm the municipal clerk for our city of Paris. On behalf of the Honorable Andres Mayor of our wonderful city,
You want to sit by me?
Honorable Marissa Davila,
Okay, good.
Council President, Honorable Michael Jackson, Council Vice President, and the Honorable Municipal Council members, our ministers, our honorees, and you, our honored guests and City Hall family. We are honored once again to have you join us in celebration of our annual Black History Month ceremony. This year, our theme is Black Migrations, Standing on the Shoulders of Giants. And if you look at your program, everyone has a program, you see that theme on the front line. The demography of Patmos is one of very ethnic and cultural. We are indeed thankful for our forefathers, for all their sacrifices to provide a platform at which we can stand proudly today and declare our purpose. We should never lose sight of our goals, but stand committed as a united front to face all our challenges. Today we have a full program which I'm sure you will enjoy immensely. However, I would like to leave everyone with these words from the famed poet laureate, the late great Maya Angelou. You may encounter many defeats, but you must not be defeated. In fact, it may be necessary to encounter the defeat, so you can know who you are, what you can rise from, how you can still come out of it. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to bring up our Council President, Honorable Marissa Davila, who will introduce our MC for this afternoon. Thank you. Council President. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. It gives me once again great pleasure to be here this afternoon as your council president. My task right now is not to give my welcoming speech, but to bring on the vice president of the council, who is the chair of the committee. And I want to first and foremost thank the clerk and the entire committee, Councilwoman Manson, Councilwoman Cotton, as well as our Dean of the Council, Councilman McCoy, and the rest of the committee. Thank you so much for putting this together. So at this time, our first ward councilman, our vice president, and chair of the Black History Month Celebration Committee, our advocate, my friend, Councilman Mike Jackson.
Thank you, Council President. Please help me give our Council President a wonderful round of applause. He's been doing a fantastic job of keeping order in the chambers and make sure decorum today, Council President, I assure you. Welcome to Patterson City Council Hall. It is where we represent those of you, all of the people of our community, and it's where we do the job that we have been elected to do and do it in great fashion. So I want to welcome all of you. Thank you for coming out and celebrating such a monumental day with us, February 1st, the celebration and acknowledgement of our history, Black History Month. So without further ado, before we move any one step further, I would like to bring to the podium I want to make sure I don't miss anything. Yes, the invitation. So without further ado, let me introduce to you today the Reverend Dr., the Councilwoman at Large, Dr. Lalisa Mims. Please help me give a round of applause.
Can we all stand for prayer? Our forefathers have fought, they were shackled, they were beaten, they were bruised, and they sacrificed for us to be able to celebrate and never forget the great history and the migration and the great shoulders that we stand on today. With every head bowed and every eye closed, let us pray. This is the day that you have made, and God, we are glad and we rejoice in it. God, we thank you that we stand on such great and mighty shoulders. First, we stand on the shoulders of faith, because we know without you, God, nothing would be possible. When there are times when they cannot articulate in speech and they didn't know subject and verb agreement, they were able to call on the name that was above every name, and things shifted and things changed. And when they were not able to understand why they were not allowed to sit in certain sections of the bus, we have a shoulder by the name of Rosa Parks that said, I refuse to go to the back of the bus, but I will stand and sit in the front because my forefathers have fought and struggled enough. We thank you,
right, left. Detail, pull. Honor guard, left, face.
In keeping with the decorum and acknowledging, recognizing our elders, today's flag salute will be led by none other than Mr. Russell Grattan.
Honor guard, present, arms.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order, arms.
Say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming. And the rockets rang
Honor guards.
Honor guards, right, face. Forward, march. Left, 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 right, left, 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 left, left.
At this time, we will have the singing of the Negro National Anthem, which we will do collectively, led by again, the beautiful voice of Ms. Lamb.
Sing
may be seated. One of the benefits of being a master of ceremony, we try to take over other people's parts of this program. This was informed by the mayor. I'm not allowed to do that. But without further ado, I want to bring back our council president, who will then bring forward the great mayor of our great city of Patterson.
Right.
Thank you, Councilman Jackson. I know I have to be brief, so don't hold the tongue on me, okay? But once again, it gives me an honor to be here today celebrating. I'm thankful and grateful. There's many individuals, as I was growing up in the city and in the schools, the city of Patterson. My mother taught us growing up that we didn't see color. And so going to the same schools here in the city of Patterson with my African American brothers and sisters, I saw no color. It is when then I decided that I wanted to run, and I seek those. Someone like Willie Mae Taylor, I remember when I wanted to run for school board the first time, she was one of the first individuals that I spoke to. She said, "You ain't ready." But I want you to know thank you, because see, a lot of times when we talk about standing on people's shoulders, and it is the truth, we have to seek our elders. So thank you to all our elders that have given me the opportunity to be able to stand here today. I thank my mother and father. I thank someone like Reverend Rowe and Reverend Randy Lassiter, who is my pastor, and so many others. Thank you for paving the way. And it is true, we've heard it before. We're celebrating Black History, but Black History is every single day. And I so know that so close. There have been mentions sometimes, well, you're not Black. Well, guess what? Anybody that knows the Puerto Rican race knows that it's comprised of African American, Latinos, and European, and that is what a Puerto Rican is. I have the blessed, I've been blessed also with being of Peruvian descent, but I am American, and I am for all, and I'm just happy that I'm able to be here to address and to be able to have such a great council. Thank you all as well for your vote of confidence, and to Ruby Kine, our previous mayor, and someone who I do admire very much, and who took me under her wing when I came on the council, and to Councilman Morris, to our dean of the council. Thank you also for all of your guidance. To Councilman Jackson, because see, we're celebrating today. We're celebrating all of those, the entire city, but today we chose to pick up those individuals in the city of Patterson who have worked, who are of African American descent. And so today I'm honoring all of my council members as well, who are of African American descent. And Councilwoman Mims, thank you as well. Thank you for those prayers. They really, really touch the heart. And you can tell that when you are in prayer, you are with God. So thank you so much for that. To Madam Mayor as well, Madam Mayor Warren, just everyone here today. Once again, it just gives me pleasure. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. I will always continue to work for all, because that's who I am, United Nations. Thank you, and God bless you all. I'm sorry, I guess the chair has said that I have the honor now of introducing who I don't think really needs an introduction. We all know the CEO of the city of Patterson, our mayor, Mayor Andre Saylor.
Good afternoon. Now, maybe bitterly cold outside, but there's a lot of pride inside these chambers. And I was proud to hear Ariel Lampley and both renditions of the Star Spangled Banner and the Negro National Anthem. Let's give her another round of applause. One day, Ms. Lampley, I see you performing at the Super Bowl, just like Whitney Houston did. When the New York Giants were there, right, Skip? I would mention the Cowboys, but I can't remember the last time they were in the Super Bowl. Some of us were not even alive. Patterson has played a prominent role in Black history. An early example is the Underground Railroad. In fact, we pay tribute to Josiah Huntoon and William Van Rensselaer And since I did mention Skip Van Rensselaer earlier, he is a direct descendant of a conductor on the Underground Railroad. So for that, we should give him a round of applause. So Huntu and Van Rensselaer, Jimmy Richardson, worked together to aid enslaved Africans escape to Canada. And it happened here in Patterson, right, Dean Boy? Moreover, the historic Hinchliffe Stadium, when African Americans were denied the opportunity to play in Major League Baseball, they played right here in Patterson. As a part of the Negro Leagues at Hinchliffe Stadium. And in 1933, we hosted the equivalent of the World Series here in Patterson for the Negro Leagues. Now, Larry Doby, who broke the color barrier in the American League, was from Patterson. He did it on July 5th, 1947. And yesterday we celebrated Jackie Robinson's 100th birthday. And he broke the color barrier in the National League. So even though Larry Doby was a close second, he was second to none. Because Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier in the National League. Larry Doby did it in the American League. So it may have been different leagues, but they still faced the same level of hate and hostility. That's why one day I hope that Larry Doby's number will be retired by Major League Baseball, just like Jackie Robinson's number was done. Over 20 years later, after Larry Doby broke the color barrier in the American League, we had the honor of hosting the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. here at the Community Baptist Church of Love when it was on Auburn Street on March 27, 1968, 1 week before he was assassinated. In 1997, as mentioned earlier, Patterson elected our first African American mayor, Martin G. Barnes. Yes. Patterson, don't hold back. This is a celebration. And since that point, the city has either elected or appointed African Americans to serve as mayor. Jeffrey Jones. Ruby M. Cotton. And my immediate predecessor, the Honorable Jane Williams Warren. On July 1st, 2018, I was honored to appoint Khalifa Shabazz as the first African American to serve as a corporation counsel. And I was also proud to bring back Eastside High School Hall of Famer to serve as our business administrator, the Honorable Vaughn McCoy. So my fellow Pattersonians, my fellow Americans, Black History Month continues to be made in our country. And I'm proud to say that Patterson continues to play a part in making Black and American history. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, Benz, I know exactly what the problem was. I can sense it. I was misreading the program, man. Councilman McCoy, you've been telling me September was coming. I didn't believe it. So we want to acknowledge that Patterson has a great history when it comes to Black history. As the mayor has pointed out, we have a number of outstanding individuals from our community that have done some tremendous things throughout the world. And in recognition of that, I just wanted to quote make a few different points. In the 1920s, it was the effort of Dr. Carter G. Woodson, along with other scholars, colleagues, and influential members of our community that spearheaded the movement to educate, coordinate, and teaching of the history of American Blacks in our nation's public schools. Black History Month was officially acknowledged by our nation's government under the administration of President Gerald Ford in 1976, which today makes our 43rd year in commemorating our history's acknowledgement. Much can be said about our history that has been made since 1976, and even about the history that has been made here today. Our job, my job, is to continue the movement with the same enthusiasm and passion that Dr. Woodson and his colleagues had to ensure that the contributions we made, not just to this country, but to the world we live in, go not unrecognized, nor never ever be forgotten. Dr. Woodson was quoted saying, "If a race has no history, it has no worthwhile tradition, it becomes a negligible factor in the thought of the world, and it stands in danger of being exterminated." I say not while I'm here, not on my watch. History lives on through the lives of our children. This is why we must ensure that the Amistad Commission is supported by our schools and is active and alive, and grant our children access to the information that is relevant to who they are and inject feelings of pride and not always defeat. That is why it is essential to teach and share and continue to create Black history. One of the things I must acknowledge is we often take time and celebrate in this one, what we know to be the shortest month of the year, but we must begin to celebrate our culture, our history, year-round, as we often do. Many other cultures and races acknowledge the trials and tribulations, and they pass those things down. I think we want to make sure that we don't miss the mark with teaching our children on some of the things that we've experienced, some of the harsh moments that our ancestors has experienced. That way we don't run the risk of repeating those same circumstances. At this time, we're going to have our poet laureate come to the podium and share with us in our community some great words. Please help me give a round of applause to the Queen.
An honor to be the first, and especially during African History Month, to be the first African American poet laureate. So thank you, Council and Mayor, for having me here today, and Chairman, thank you so much. I noticed that the flag was at half-mast. It is at half-mast today, and I hope that it will stay that way because lots of Africans in America have perished since the Great Migration in these United States, and we know that they have made that migration for several reasons. One, for economic advantage, but mostly to be free of the torment that they were consistently under in the South. So I hope that the flag remains in half-mast for in honor of the people who continue to perish. The theme today is about standing on shoulders, and I recognize as my thesis advisor wanted me to remember when I was working on my thesis that some of the shoulders that we stand on, that I personally stand on, is the great Toni Morrison, Octavia Butler, Ralph Ellison, James Baldwin, and all of those other people who do not have the luxury of simply being writers. They have to be stewards for activism in their communities, and they have to be people who bring awareness to all of the things that are happening in our Black culture, and I'm happy to, I'm proud, and I recognize that it's a privilege to have a platform, and I continue the work that my ancestors have done. This is One More River. Hi, Mom. Well, my mother, she'll be there, but mother can't help me to cross. You know that mother, she'll be there, but mother can't help me to cross. You know I got one more river to cross. Well, my father, he'll be there, but father can't help me to cross. You know the father, he'll be there, but father can't help me to cross. You know I got one more to cross. Wide was the river we crossed from slavery. Scarred backs, proud chest, acts of bravery. We packed just a little more than pride for that underground railroad ride. The whole while singing, we exalt thee. Only faith could have helped us cross the cold waters when we knew that the sure punishment was slaughter. Slipped, sneaked, prayed for salvation from every station until Juneteenth and the promise of emancipation. The long-awaited freedom for our sons and our daughters. Then came the time that we came to know a formidable foe, a slinky fellow by the name Jim Crow, who did legislate the rapids of the river to flow against us and mark the moment when our people learned not to trust the nation nor the scale or the direction the river flowed. Lord sent us a king to teach us how to fight in ways that were civilized for our civil rights. We learned to sit, walk, and march with compassion against those who held a stake in the profit of our oppression. Held on to their power with privilege, held on to their privilege with all their might. The river's rapids were rough, but the water does still flow. For this renewed fight that we have against brutality, for the continued struggle for equality and equity in the workplace and beyond, and places we don't even know yet, we choose to cross this river to a new plateau. We have one more river to cross. And my Father, he'll be there. The Father came to help me to cross. You know the Father, he'll be there. The Father came to help me to cross. You know I got one more river to cross. Thank you for your time.
Good afternoon. I am so happy to be here to celebrate our Black History Month program. But before I get started, my role today is to announce the dignitaries and the day's guests. But I always say that the month of February, to me, I do a lot of crying. It could be something watching on TV or just listening to a song that would just bring tears to my eyes, because I think about the struggle that my family went through, all our families, just for me to be standing here today. And I always say, no matter what, no matter how old I get, you do your best to always make them proud, because they can still, and they're watching over you every single day. So I want to say I'm happy to be here today. But I'm here to do the dignitaries and the dignitaries and the dais guests here. And on our dais guests, we have our Honorable Mayor, Andre Sayre. Marissa Davila. We also have our Vice President, Councilman Michael Jackson. Our Second Ward Councilman, we have Shahi Khalid. Our Third Ward Councilman, the Dean, is William C. McCoy. Our Fifth Ward Councilman, Louis Velez. Our newly elected Sixth Ward Councilman, Al Albanese. And of course, we have our councilwoman, we have our councilman at large, Dr. Lisa Mims. What's that wonderful prayer she threw down there? That was a wonderful prayer. I didn't forget. I don't know, he just, they like to do that, especially he sits next to me. We have Councilman Flavio Rivera. And also myself, Councilwoman Ruby Cotton of the 4th Ward. here with us is Mr. Warren McCoy, our acting business administrator. Khalifa Shabazz, our acting corporation counsel, and we're so proud of her. Also, we have here Reverend Dr. Weldon Williams IV, pastor of Christ Central Baptist Church. We also have Mr. Russell Grady, interpreter from Dr. Jim Weston. We also have with us Special Sergeant Kevin O'Neill, angler with the U.S. Army. And also here we have with us Assemblywoman Sharonda Sumter couldn't be here today, but we have our own Assemblyman Benji Wimberly. Please stand. We also have with us some of our department heads. We have Dr. Paul Passan, he's the Acting Director of Health and Human Services. We have Jerry Trezier, our Police Director. We have Chief Troy Oswald, our Chief Troy Oswald from our Police Department. Chief Brian Victor of the Fire Department. We have with us Mr. William Rodriguez, Acting Director of the Department of Public Works. And we have we have Deputy Director Manny Ortega, and we have Steve Howe is here. We also have with us Kathleen Long, she's the Chief of Staff to the Mayor. And we have Javier Fernandez, she's Constituent Service. Also with us is Harry Sabalos, our purchasing agent. Harry, we also have with us Marsha Sorrow, Director of the Division of Multicultural. Where's Marsha? She's here. We have Mr. David Gilmore, he's the Director of the Division of Community Improvements. And I saw him earlier. We also have Mr. Corey Flynn, he's the Director of our Patterson Public Library. We also have with us Mr. Tony Perez, Executive Director of the Patterson Parking Authority. We also have with us Ms. Danielle Arlen Amhoff, couldn't be here, our county clerk that was just elected. But we do have here the Deputy County Clerk, Reverend Dr. Raymond Pagan. And also we have here with us, and I just want to say some of our Board of Ed Commissioners. We do have our former Board of Ed Commissioner, Wahida Muhammad, with us. We also have Ms. Willa Mae Taylor, a former Board Commissioner. And we also have Mr. Earl Carr, a former board, but now he is on our board for the Patterson Public Library. Congratulations. We also have with us President of the NAACP of the City of Passaic, Jeffrey Dye. And I just would like to announce that, I'm sorry. We also have one of our former commissioners here from the Board of Education is Crystal Cleese. Thank you. I just want to acknowledge too that we have Mr. Skip Ray Wrestler here, who is part of the family of the Houghton Ray Wrestler Underground Railroad. Thank you for being here today.
But I will be remiss, since we did acknowledge the Queen, we have one of the hardest advocates in our community, the King, the civilized King. I wanted to definitely give King Civilized Casey Butler. He's an advocate as well as myself, and he's consistently fighting on behalf of other people. Yes. So I wanted to make sure we acknowledge him. He's working diligently on making sure that our brother Jameek is not forgotten. So we definitely appreciate that, Brother King. So moving right along, Bear with me. Man, this glasses thing is something new for me. I can't see you if I keep them on. I'm only reading. That's it. One purpose. First, our guest speaker of the day has made an early impact on our community. The moment I had an opportunity to meet him, I was definitely inspired and encouraged by his fire and his tenacity. So I will not give my own rendition. I will definitely stick to the script. For the moment, the script is longer than I will be, I'll tell you that. Believing that he was called in early childhood, Reverend Dr. Weldon McWilliams finally accepted his call into the ministry at the age of 27 in May of 2007. Reverend McWilliams received his license to preach the gospel in October of 2008 and has now dedicated his life to preaching the gospel for Jesus Christ and preparing God's people for the kingdom. Reverend McWilliams believes that in order to carry out the work of Jesus Christ, one must achieve inside and outside the church, and that the right of justice and is an integral component of one's Christian duty. In May of 2010, Reverend McWilliams received his PhD from the Department of African American Studies at Temple University in Philadelphia. He is currently an assistant professor of history at the state of New York, SUNY, at Dutchess Community College located in Poughkeepsie, New York, where he teaches United States history. Reverend McWilliams was ordained on May 15, 2011 at the Yahshua Temple of Praise by his pastor, Bishop Melvin Brown in Philadelphia, PA, thus continuing a family tradition and establishing the fourth generation line of ordained ministers. Both grandfathers and parental grandfathers were all ordained pastors. So for many of you who know the history of Patterson, we know that there's a church that has left a great staple in our community. That's Grace Chapel. And Reverend McWilliams' grandfather was the pastor at that church, where his father was a native Pattersonian. His father then went on to take up a job preaching in upstate New York, where Reverend McWilliams had the opportunity to grow up. And just from my brief time of hearing him and listening to this brother preach and give himself to the community, I would say that Christ Temple has struck gold. This community of Patterson has struck gold. And without further ado, I give today's guest speaker, the good Reverend Dr. McWilliams.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I'm not going to be before you long. I have a few minutes. I just want to thank the City Council, want to thank the Mayor, want to thank the Council President, the Chair of the Committee. I want to thank you for extending to me this opportunity to share with you for a few moments on the theme of standing on the shoulders of giants. Amen? Amen. I again first want to give reverence to God who is the head of my life. God, everything I do, everything I attempt to do, everything I think about, I hope that I do. And I ask the question, is this something that God would be proud of? And I do that. But I come today in pledging my allegiance to God. I come today to always make sure that I'll speak truth to power. Amen? Amen. So I don't come in the name of anyone else. I don't know. I'm not going to come in the name of my father. I don't know what's best to say what's politically correct for Patterson, but I stand in the name of the one who I discovered to be water for the thirsty, food for the hungry, and a voice for the voiceless. And I'm talking about the revolutionary Jesus the Christ. Amen? So I just want to speak for you briefly, because we are here today to celebrate a people, to celebrate a culture that has contributed so much to not just this nation, but has contributed so much to civilization itself. We are the people, if we're honest about it, if you study science, if you listen to those who know what they're talking about, we are the people in which humankind itself started with. And as I stand here before you this afternoon with the privilege of being the keynote, I count it an honor and a blessing. But I am fully aware that with honor and with blessings also come responsibility. So I look at this opportunity as a responsibility to speak truth to the matter, and when it comes to my people, when it comes to our experience here, we don't do any service if we dress up the truth. Amen? I believe that some of these amens may get a little tougher as we get along, go along, but if you continue to say amen, I promise you the sooner I'll be out the way. Amen? So the story of our people here in America is a story that is one of many trials, is one of many tribulations, accompanied with all the momentous victories. These are victories that, if we're honest with ourselves, have been few and far between. Our people have had to endure being kidnapped. Our people have had to endure being stuffed into ships. Our people have had to endure being brought to a strange land, a land that they did not ask to come to in the first place. Our people had to endure this land, a land that would eventually strip them of their names, eventually strip them of their language, and try to strip them of their culture. People of African descent, we people of African descent in America have been fighting in survival mode ever since. We have been in survival mode, and still after all these atrocities, we must be applauded because we are still here. So if you don't applaud anything else, we ought to applaud the fact that we are still here. Because our people, when they came to this land, we came to this land as an enslaved people. We were not slaves, but we were made into an enslaved people. There's a difference. But we were a people that, as Malcolm X put it, would work from sun up to sundown. We were a people that never had a day off. And we were subject, our people were subject to the sting of a lash for anything that might have insulted the sensibilities of the oppressor, even at the slightest. But despite even that, our people, our forefathers, our ancestors, they knew that their conditions as slaves did not define them. They knew that even though society said that they were to be in bondage, they knew that deep down in their spirits, they could not accept those conditions of being enslaved. Despite the limitations that were put on them, despite the limitations that were given to them, they knew that for their survival, they would have to defy limitations. Our people have, from the moment that we've stepped unwillingly onto these shores, our people have constantly had to rise above the limits that were prescribed to them. Our people have always had to defy limits that this nation has tried to put on us. They tried to relegate us to conditions of slaves. They tried to tell us that we were not human. They tried to tell us that we were not worthy. But our ancestors knew that in order to survive, they would have to defy limitations. So our people, from the moment they stepped off those shores, knew that they would have to defy the limits that were prescribed to them. And I thank God that we stand on the shoulders of men and women who saw themselves greater than the society they were placed in saw them. Amen? Y'all need to learn how to put your hands together, shout, no one to say amen. We ought to say hallelujah that we come from a people who saw themselves greater than society tried to tell them they were worth. In this society, the historiography or the writing of history tends to be two things that I find extremely problematic. In our society, the way we write history, first of all, it tends to be patriarchal and it tends to be individualistic. And this is incomplete. This is problematic when you look at the history of African people. When you look at the history of African people, you cannot accurately tell our story if it's patriarchal, and you can't accurately tell our story if it's individualistic. When you tell history from those perspectives, it is very incomplete. But as I look at this beautiful flyer that was created for this event, I can't help but notice that there was no black woman on this flyer. We as black folk, we as Africans of descent, we cannot fall into this line of thinking that seems to dominate European type of thinking that men are the only ones that can make history. Because if we're honest with ourselves, the story of the only black men have made history. In many, if not all, African cultures, the family is the most important institution of that culture. And you know that you cannot create a family absent of black women. Amen? And I don't care what America tries to tell you, you cannot build a family absent of the black man. Amen? Amen. So I just want you to understand that if we are going to really honor ourselves, if we're really going to tell our story, if we're really going to let somebody know just how far we came, we have to also include the story of powerful black women. Amen? Somebody ought to know the name of Yah Santoa. Amen? Somebody ought to know the name of Makeda, the Queen of Sheba. Somebody ought to know the name of Candace, the Queen of Ethiopia. Somebody ought to know the name of Hatshepsut, the Queen of Egypt. Somebody ought to know about Amy Jacques Garvey, not just Marcus Garvey. Somebody ought to know about Anna Julia Cooper. Somebody ought to know about Mary Church Terrell. Somebody ought to know about Sojourner Truth. Somebody ought to know about Harriet Tubman. Somebody ought to know about Gloria Richardson, Fannie Lou Hamer, Anna Ella Baker, Joanne Robinson. Somebody ought to know that had it not been for a black woman that was on my side of the world, you would not be. So if we're honest with ourselves, if we're true to ourselves, if we're honest with ourselves, then we can't properly tell our story unless we acknowledge the role that black women play. So let us all just look at a black woman and say, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Another misconception about our history, another misconception about the way that we write and the way that we tell our story is that history, especially here in America, tends to highlight individuals. It tends to promote this notion that history is made by individuals. We learned about men growing up, George Washington, all these peoples, but you know, George Washington would not have even been mentioned in history had he not had a mass of people who felt the same way that he did. And I come by to say the same is true when we talk about our people. Our history is not a history of individuals, but it is a history of the collective. Amen? I understand that we highlight certain figures when we look at our flyer here today. We see Malcolm X, we see Jomo Kenyatta, we see Barack Obama, we see Nelson Mandela, Marcus Garvey, Martin Luther King. But I want you to know that these individuals themselves could not make history by themselves. One of the examples, Martin Luther King Jr., he became the leader of the civil rights movement not because he chose to become a leader, but it was because the masses of the people in the community in which he served had similar thoughts, had similar passions as Martin Luther King, and they themselves decided for themselves to select Dr. King as their leader. Amen? So I want somebody here to understand that if we continue to look for individual leadership, it is easy for us to get lost. We need to begin not to just look for individuals, but we need to begin to identify collectives, not just one person, but 2 or 3 persons that we can get together with and that we can make some real progress. The story of the black man, the story of the black woman, the story of the black child in this country has been a story of struggle, but it is not a story of individuals. It is a story of the collective of the people. That's why Black Panther said power to the people, because they understood it was the people who would make history. Yes, Dr. King did some great things, but it wasn't Dr. King by himself. Had it not been for the community of Birmingham, Alabama, had it not been for the community of Montgomery, Alabama, you would not know or see of Martin Luther King. Amen? Had it not been for the Nation of Islam, we would not know Malcolm X. Had it not been for the communities in which you live, had it not been for the community of Patterson, New Jersey, you would not know who Weldon and Williams IV is. So our story can't be a story of individuals. My success has to be seen as your success. Your success has to be seen as my success. When you hurt, I ought to hurt. When you have joy, I ought to have joy. When I prosper, you ought to prosper. When you have prospered, I ought to prosper. Our story is not a story of individuals, but it's a story of a collective. in this country has been a story of struggle. Yes, during Black History Month, it is important that we highlight the many successes. It is important that we highlight the many achievements. But we would be fooling ourselves and it would be a disservice to all our ancestors and all our relatives if we do not highlight that our story in America has been a struggle. Our story in America has been a story of fighting. It has been a story of survival, trying to make it. It has been a story of trying to defy the odds that were set up against us. But in acknowledging who we are as a people, we must make it clear that we are a holistic people. And if you're going to celebrate us, you got to celebrate all of us. You can't pick and choose what aspects to celebrate. You can't pick and choose what aspects to highlight and then decide what other aspects you want to keep quiet. We are people who have made a commitment to fight injustice whenever we experience it. We are people who history tells us that we cannot become complacent in injustice. We cannot become used to injustice. When you celebrate Black history in America, you are also celebrating the people's commitment to fight. Amen? When you celebrate Black history in America, you are also celebrating our choice to fight. And we had to fight for everything that we had in this country. It ought to be acknowledged that when this country brought us here, they didn't want to give us a thing. Everything that we got, we had to fight for, we had to march for, we had to scream for, and so often, too often, we had to die for it. Amen? But I want you to know it was, we had to fight for everything that we had. We had to fight for our families because they split up our families. We had to fight for our right to worship because they didn't understand how we worship. We had to fight for our right to educate ourselves because they didn't want us to learn to read and write. We had to fight for our citizenship because somewhere I read they try to call us 3/5 of human beings. We had to fight for our right to vote because somebody believed we did not have the capacity to govern. We had to fight for our right to exist, and still, even in 2019, far too many of us are fighting for our humanity. We are fighting right now. Some of us have come to the foolish belief that the fighting is over, but the fighting, we are still in the midst of the fight. If in 2019, we still have to declare that our lives matter. If you have a group of people that still have to declare their lives matter, that is just another way of saying we are still fighting, amen? And I come by to tell somebody that if you're going to celebrate Black history, you can't pick and choose, you can't highlight certain things, you got to acknowledge all of us. You either going to include all of us or you might as well forget all of us. Yes, we have made some achievements, but we still got a long way to go. We are still fighting, we are still declaring, we are still saying that we are human beings, and if you don't want to acknowledge our humanity, we will say you still have a problem with us. Amen? So we still have a right, we are still fighting because we still are fighting for our humanity. We are still declaring that our lives matter. And I just want to say in the short time that I have, that I want to encourage all of you that we must continue to fight. Don't let any entity, don't let anybody, don't let any institution try to tell you that your life is not worth fighting for. Amen? We must continue to fight. A celebration of Black history means you got to celebrate all of us. And not only do we come from kings and queens, but we come from some warriors who know how to fight. We come from some survivors who know how to survive. We come from all of these things, and we have to make sure that we carry that in our DNA. But if we're honest tonight, if we're honest this afternoon, let's be honest with ourselves. We would rather have the things that we are fighting for than to be celebrated for fighting for. If we're honest with ourselves, we would rather have the things that we are fighting for than being celebrated for what we are fighting for. We would rather have our freedom than to be celebrated for fighting for our freedom. If we're honest with ourselves, we wish that we would never have to come to a place where we had to justify our humanity. We wish that we could live in a society where freedom would just be given to us because we are free. Yes, we are fighting for things, but if we're honest with ourselves, we would rather have the things that we are fighting for than to be celebrated for fighting for them. We would rather close. Celebration or not, I'm proud to be black. Celebration or not, I'm proud of the legacy that I come from. Celebration or not, I'm still gonna fight for what's right if you love me or if you hate me. I understand that God works by a different equation than here in the world. Somewhere I read that in order to be exalted in the eyes of God, you must humble yourself in the eyes of man. So I say that to say it doesn't matter who wants to walk with me down here. If God tells me to do it, we gotta do it. And I don't know what God has told you, but God has told me that we are His children, and we have a right to exist like God's children. We deserve 3 meals a day. We deserve decent housing. We deserve the right to vote. We deserve the right to be free. And we gotta move like that. We gotta walk like that. We gotta talk like that. Sing like that. Shout like that. Doesn't matter if the president likes it, if the governor likes it, if the mayor likes it. If I got to go walk by myself, I will walk by myself, because we are people that are determined to be free, and we are not gonna let nobody turn us around. If you're free, somebody say amen. Somebody say hallelujah. And I'm proud and I won't turn.
We must make sure that we put a staple on that truth, that we never forget the basic essentials, just the right, the privilege to live, to be free, the things we fought for. Before we move on in our program, I want to take a brief moment just to acknowledge our city clerk and her great staff. Madam Clerk, can we have the staff members? If you take a look around the chambers and outside, you know, they've taken a great deal of time. This piece right here is phenomenal. And I had to make an effort to make sure we showcase that. And what happens is, some of these faces, as time moves on, we forget the relevancy. And out in the hallway, you'll see another. Please pay attention to these items. Because as the Reverend just pointed out, these individuals that make this collective, there's so many more faces that we allow to go unheard and unknown. Those that have lost their lives senselessly, the Michael Browns of the world. We have our sister, Delwana Miller, who lost her son senselessly. And sometimes we're always pointing the finger of outside entities, but sometimes that danger and that malice comes from within. We must not forget the trials and tribulations that our people have suffered, because as we forget, we only run the risk of repeating those instances. So on that note, I would also like to take a brief moment. Thank you, Madam Clerk and the clerk staff. Let's give them a round of applause for the work that they put in. I also want to take a brief moment before people begin to leave out. I want to thank all of you for offering and rendering your support. And Reverend, we hear you loud and clear. It wasn't without any intent that the women in our community was not acknowledged. Last year's program had all women. This year's program happened to have all men. It wasn't intentional. You got the ready, you got to fire it up. I want to see nobody in the parking lot. Now see the Jackson. No. We give praise to our women. Without further ado, I want to bring the councilman of the third ward forward of the reading of the Black History Resolution. Councilman McCoy, please come forward.
I was really looking for a way of escape to get out of here today. I'm on theirs, and I would have to pass a whole lot of women to get out of the building. And Reverend, we're really fired up. We're glad that you're here. Your words are powerful, and the spirit of what you were saying absolutely is true. We can accomplish nothing without women and women's support. Our tradition is a collective one, and one of a call and response. And you made the call, and I'll give the response. If we had any offense, even in this moment, you have our full apology. You're equal partners in our struggle. Nothing that we've accomplished we have done by ourselves, but as the Reverend rightfully put it, it's in our collective. As the dean, I've been here a little while, so I know that time is a challenge, and I'm going to attempt to give an example for all of those that will follow after me, because Lunch is on the outside, and it's a difficult task to stand between folk and their meal. My purpose today is to read the resolution designating the month of February, the shortest month of the year, in 2019 as Black History Month, the city of Patterson with the theme, Black Migration, standing on the shoulders of giants. Whereas the city of Patterson wishes to honor the heritage of African Americans and acknowledge their economic, cultural, political contributions to our nation. And whereas this year's theme is Black migrations, include earlier centuries, but focuses especially on the 20th century through today, including the migration from farms to cities, south to the north, from the Caribbean to the United States, as well as immigration from noted African Americans to Africa and to European cities after the end of World War I and World War II. Whereas the month of February is an appropriate month to observe Black History Month, on February 23rd, 1868, civil rights leader and co-founder of the NAACP, W. Du Bois was born. On February 3rd, 1870, the 15th Amendment granting African Americans the right to vote was passed. On February 25th, 1870, the first African American U.S. Senator, Herm Revelle, took his oath of office. On February 12, 1909, the NAACP was founded. And whereas in 1915, Carter G. Woodson, noted scholar, historian, and descendant from former slaves, founded the Association for the Study of Negro Life and History, later renamed the Association of Study of African American Life and History, and on February 12, 1926, he began Black History Week, which was celebrated until 1976, when it was expanded to the designation February as Black History Month. Whereas the Municipal Council of the City of Patterson wishes to celebrate and honor, along with all people over the world, Black History Month 2019, whereas the Municipal Council wishes to continue its tradition of designating February as Black History Month in the City of Patterson, and feels that such a tribute fitting to the many contributions which have been made by African Americans to our current society. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Municipal Council of the City of Patterson that February 2019 shall be Black History Month in the City of Patterson, signed by our Council President, Maritza Dowler, and the Madam Clerk, Sonia Gordon, hereby established. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That is our resolution.
Thank you, Councilman. We're going to take a brief moment and allow reflection while we have our brother Victor Moore give a brief rendition of our heritage through the sound of the drum. acknowledge and pay homage to those who deserve to be acknowledged. This year we chose that we select employees of the city of Patterson. We have some wonderful community members who are continuously making a great impact on our community. We wanted to make sure we take an opportunity to acknowledge some of those people who often go without being acknowledged, who are doing a tremendous job, who are on their grind, keeping our city running. So we're not going to waste much more time. We'll get right into it. If you have a program, we're going to move around a little bit only because our councilman of the 6th Ward has to return back to work. We don't want to put in any comp time. We don't want to have any discrepancies over there. So I'm going to bring to the podium our councilman of the 6th Ward. Please give him a round of applause, Councilman Ala Abdelaziz.
Thank you, Council Vice President. I want to thank the committee, Ruby Khan, Councilwoman Lisa Mims, and our guest speaker who had to leave. Council, I don't want to be a member of Christ Temple. I'm Muslim, so I don't know. He really got me going. Don't tell the imam I said that. I don't know. He inspired me, right? That's like an amen or no? Hey, there we go. All right. So the committee. Standing on giant shoulders is a great thing because going back to our imam, I feel I stand on their shoulders. And African American History Month allows us to celebrate. And my imam always says in his sermon, the African American struggle is our struggle. The African American success is our success. When Dr. Martin Luther King walked the streets, he didn't just fight for African American rights, he fought for our rights also. They paved the road for all of us. And this month, and Councilwoman Mims said it perfectly clear, not just this month, the entire year, we need to understand the real people that paved the path for everyone. So I'm glad to participate in this. I'm sorry to the honorees, congratulations. I'm sorry I have to head out back to work, but duty calls and my wife knows that's where it pays the mortgage, so I have to make sure I get back to work. So today it's my honor to honor Gwendolyn Bynum Schultz, a proud Pattersonian, a proud employee of our city, of DPW for the past 13 years. She's lived in the great city of Patterson for 45 years. Her husband worked for our city, so that is a true Pattersonian. She's a proud resident of the great ward of the 6th Ward, so let's give her a round of applause. She attended John F. Kennedy High School. She's a member of the Patterson branch of the NAACP. And when you ask her colleagues about her, they'll tell her about the beautiful heart and the passion and compassion she has for the work that she does. Yeah. I'm glad to be her councilman. I'm also glad to be hopefully a friend to you. I grew up on your block. So now, anytime you need anything, please, congratulations. And this is from the city council in our city. Congratulations.
The mayor, the city clerk, and council for receiving this Dayton-based award. I also want to thank my husband for being on my side. Charles, you wouldn't show me. I got a call, I thought it was a prank call. I was like, what? I was driving, I said, let me pull over. Let me pull over to get straight with it. But I'm so proud to get this award. I want to thank DPW, and I also want to thank the directors. Without them, my job couldn't get done. And the tools they gave me to work with, and all the departments in the city of Patterson. We got to work together in order to get my job. I just didn't get this by myself. We all got it together.
Councilman Abdelaziz has just been trying to become a member of the first board for so long. I'm sure you come to service, Councilman. We won't say anything. Moving right along, we're going to bring our honorable mayor to the podium so he can bring forward his honoree as well. Please give a round of applause for our mayor.
And everyone is invited to Councilman Abdelaziz's baptism at Christ Temple this Sunday. He was really moved. That's what we call conversion. My fellow Pattersonians, the next honoree is the epitome of humility. Dean, I have honored many people during my career in public office, and they've done backflips when I told them I was going to honor them. They've done cartwheels. They couldn't contain their enthusiasm. When I told our honoree I was honoring him, he just shrugged his shoulders and he said, all I do is come to work. I don't need to be recognized. This young man came to us from Haiti in 1995. And when he arrived, he enrolled into Passaic County Community College in English as a second language program. Well, today, not only does he speak English, but he speaks 4 languages. He speaks Spanish, he speaks French, he speaks Creole, and of course, English. For an extended period of time, he worked at Chili's restaurant from 1998 to 2013, and within 2 years, he became a chef at the restaurant. And then he went to Passaic County Technical Institute to refine his culinary skills. And after 7 years of living in Patterson, he realized the American dream and bought a home in our city. In 2015, he was hired in the Department of Public Works in maintenance. And soon after, he furthered his education. He got various licenses so they could diversify his portfolio and become even more valuable to our community. He is married to Evangelina, and they have 3 children, Stephen, Stephanie, and Abigail. Guess what? A few days ago, they welcomed their 4th, Isabel. This is the epitome of humility. So Fritzner, we call you Mr. Clean. Because cleanliness is next to godliness. And as Dr. G said, everyone can be great because everyone can serve. And here's a young man who proudly serves our city with great distinction. I present to you Fritzner Origin, the recipient of the Von Gaston Humsu Award. Let's give him another round of applause. Cornelius, you want a picture? Another round of applause for Fritzner. In all 4 languages, Fritzner.
You're not gonna get French today. Good evening. I'm very, very happy to be here today. I come from a country that everybody forget about it. Haiti. If we have to celebrate Black Story, Haiti should be part of the Black Story. Yeah. Because Haitian people fight for this country. I'm gonna ask you a favor. You're gonna put your hand together for our Mayor Andre Sai, who brought me here today, not as a city worker, but as a Haitian from Haiti who get first independence from Caribbean. I don't know if you guys read your story. To make it short, will be the conclusion, will be introduction. My wife is in the hospital. I have to go pick up my daughter. And my family are not here today. My family from home not here today. But I have family from work are here today. every morning call me, Fritz, where are you? Some of people who bring me a cup of coffee. I will never forget about you guys. And like you say, I will never forget today. I will never forget today. Thank you, Mayor.
Ça passé. Never can forget the fight and struggle that our Haitian brothers has demonstrated. The only black country that raised up in revolution and fought against power to win its freedom. So we take our hat off to you, brothers. At the moment, I'd like to bring up the Honorable Councilman of the 2nd Ward, Shaheen Khalid. Please help me give him a round of applause.
Thank you, Councilman Jackson. My dear respected elders, brothers, sisters, good afternoon. Assalamu alaikum. May the peace be upon you. My honoree for today is Sabrina Robinson Curry. Come on up, please, Curry. Let me briefly tell you about her input and thank you. Sabrina Curry currently serves as an administrative secretary for the city of Patterson, where she assists me and our councilman at large, Fabio Rivera. In addition to offering support for the entire municipal council for city of Patterson. Outside of her professional life, Mrs. Robinson Curry has been preaching since the age of 23, when she was ordained as an evangelist by the late Bishop E. Robinson of Good Shepherd Holiness Pentecostal Church in Brooklyn, New York. Mrs. Robinson is an active member of the Church of Jesus Christ Apostolic of Pacific, where the pastor is Bishop B.C. Herbert, PhD. She's an associate minister. She's an integral part of executive leadership team. Ms. Robinson Curry also served as the Director of Christian Education. Mrs. Robinson Curry lives in Patterson. Her husband of 25 years, Elder Pernell Curry, and their 3 children, Christopher, Crystal, and Christina. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Municipal Council of City of Patterson that Sabrina Robinson Curry is now recognized as a 2019 Black History Month honoree to receive Sojourner Truth Award as an inspiration to the community at large. Thank you, Sabrina.
Greetings, everyone. Greetings. I do greet you and good afternoon to our mayor, certainly to the entire council, and especially to Councilman Khalid. I'd like to say thank you very much for this honor, which also came to me as a surprise, as it did to one of the other honorees. I thought it was a prank. And I thought to myself very quickly, I said, isn't there someone else? Can we think of just another person? Are you sure? And I say that because I too stand on the shoulders of many others. And I also stand on the shoulders of many of the employees who have been here for years and giving their time, their energy, and their effort. And I shared that with someone, and they immediately said, you know what? Go with it. Because sometimes we don't see certain things in ourselves where others do see it in us. And you take the blessing and you run with it. And so I am ever so thankful. I also want to say that I sometimes the resolution. And when they asked me for a bio, I said, oh boy, what do I even tell? And I say to God be the glory for all that he has done for me in my life. When I graduated from high school, I received a full scholarship to UCLA. And as it turns out, I didn't get an opportunity to go because my mother took ill and I had to stay behind to care for younger siblings. And after that, I said, well, what will I do? What will become of my education? I was already impoverished and living a very difficult life. And I remember my grandfather saying, just put one foot in front of the other and just trust God. And he did that. And fast forward, I wound up in a hedge fund where I became the vice president of information technology. And I'm not saying that to toot my own horn, I'm saying that to encourage somebody, because I don't have a master's degree, I don't have a bachelor's degree, and I'm 6 credits from an associate's degree today. But that's because of the journey that God had taken me on. And it is this day that I'm preparing for a project management certification. And you can do it if you really want to. And know that you're not doing it on your own. I so enjoyed the preacher who came up. Boy, I feel ready, more ready than I've ever been. And I hope you too, because it's not just about us as individuals, but it's about us collectively. Remember that. And so thank you very much to each and every one of you. Thank you so much, and God bless you all.
Congratulations again. We thank you guys for being patient with us, with our program. Not to worry, we provided lunch. It's a fantastic restaurant. I'm looking forward to trying the cuisine myself. I hear great things about it. So don't worry, you'll be fed. Without further ado, I'm going to bring the dean of the council back to the podium to bring forward both his honoree and a special council-wide honoree. If you help me, please give him a round of applause. All right, thank you so much. Great preaching today. I went to a Black Christian Month and church broke out. Amen, amen. We have been praying for and recognizing those who serve in the military at every single council meeting that we have. And today we thought it not robbery to recognize and pay tribute and honor to a member of the military service that has been deployed in many places and most recently will be redeployed to Africa to fight for our protection and our rights even here as the United States, that we can live and be free. This young man exemplifies the best of us, what W. Du Bois talks about as a talented 10th, and also represented in the same spirit of the Tuskegee Airmen. These were black military men that was pilots and flying in the war, and initially nobody wanted to fly with them. But they have these planes with the red tail that distinguish them in their service, and after a while folk begin to realize that every bomber that they escort came back home. And that's the job. So after a while everybody wanted them to escort them, not because they were black, but because they were qualified, because they were talented, because they did the job. That is our history, that is our commitment, that is what we do. So today, I'd like to bring up special Kevon O'Neill Anglin, who is a member of the Patterson community in the finest tradition of black folk fighting in every war to protect and to establish these United States. He's set to be deployed in a few days to the motherland, to Africa, to continue that same defense. And we're here, my brother, to encourage you and to say you have our prayers, you have our blessings, and you have our support. And we honor you in our gratitude for your service and for your commitment
to these United States. On behalf of the Municipal Council of the City of Patterson, our mayor and council members would like to present to you the citation and in recognition and honor of your service to our country, and we thank you. We want to move this process along. We have, my honoree is none other than the village minister of defense, Bilal Akeem, who is being honored today in the tradition and the name of Marcus Messiah Garvey. And he has a long and outstanding list of services. He's President Emeritus of the Underground Railroad Coalition, who have successfully sought the historical status of the Antoon Corner, and they accepted the Historical Preservation Award from our former Governor, Christine Todd Whitman. And for those efforts tonight, to this evening, we'd like to recognize our brother and honor him. I ask you to stand and salute with me, none other than our own, Bilal Akeem.
Everybody in? Everybody coming? Everybody coming? I've seen glimpses. That's it. I mean, that's it. Here we go. One more. Oh, wait, one more. Got it.
Don't have a lot of time, but I want to first thank Almighty God, the owner of our souls. Amen. One who caused us to wake up and gave us our humanity, despite the artificial definitions that they have put on us by worldly definitions, black, white, etc. These are artificial terms. It is our humanity that ties us together. I'm thankful for receiving the Marcus Garvey award, and like everyone else, Garvey is a great hero. I call him the Great Garvey, the Great Garvey. And hearing that, one of my teachers was actually a student of Marcus Garvey, Carlos Cook. Our organization, Elan Brass, was a student of Carlos Cook, coming in the tradition of Marcus Garvey. But I want to just say this here as we move the program on, is that there's no doubt, the truth touches your soul. And that preacher that was here, what was that preacher's name? Bishop Williams. He was fired up. And I tell you, he took a lot of what I had to say to y'all. So I hope he stays the course. And I hope that we're paying attention to everything that he was saying. So I just leave by saying this here, that there is no individual achievement, it's always the collective. And everyone will continue to ring that. And I say I accept this here award on behalf of the mothers of the mosques that I grew up in. Sister Wahida and those sisters. And it took me a struggle to get here today because I really wasn't feeling well, and I'm sorry I missed the flag raising, I didn't want to get here. The mothers of these churches, the teachers, and let me just say this here, Miss Daniels, Miss Carter, Miss Ethel Williams, Miss Alberta Rowe. There was a time when the teacher just walked to the school. We didn't have many days off. So, Mr. Hubbard, Mr. Owens, Kamal Kalfani, the NAACP, the National, Chief Moody, Mother Telefarrow, Anna Telefarrow, who was an educational advocate, for my auntie, for my mother, my father. It is always collective. And with that being said, I'm gonna walk on this podium by leaving this last piece with you. As he said, and that is the preacher said, that it's not individually, when something happens, it affects the collective mind of people. So I will be missed in my duty as the councilman announced me as the minister of defense in the community to say that our collective senses have been confounded by what we have been experiencing during the month of January with the passing of Jameek Lowry. And believe me, to speak grammatically correct, you must have verb and subject agreement. And some people think that, well, this is not for the form. It is always the proper form to raise the message of truth. So we have those questions, and our collective senses just want rest. We're not pointing at this time, but I want to put that on your mind. I will be remiss in my duty and representing Marcus Mosiah Ogarby. Peace be unto you in the mercy of God and his blessing. Thank you.
I just want to say that I am just so happy for the honoree that I've chosen for our Black History Month program. Our theme is standing on the shoulders for us to get where we have gotten. And as the Reverend has said, it's the women who did a lot of the work. There were women, and my ancestors sometimes didn't eat at night, sometimes didn't sleep at night, kids, sick children, sick parents. But you know, we must say, we appreciate those women that I say I have stood on their shoulders for me to get to where I'm at, because I wouldn't have gotten here without them. And I want to bring up my honoree, and I chose Mary McLeod Bethune because I see her out in our community with her arts and crafts and working with our children. And I gotta say, that's why I chose that, because she has so much patience with our children. She want to show them how to make the buttons, how to crochet, how to sew, how to do all of that. And I just want to say to my honoree, would you please come up? And my honoree for Black History Month is Ms. Helen Louise Kennedy. And I would just like to read a little bit. Helen, whereas Helen Louise Kennedy was born in New Zion, South Carolina to Mrs. Ozella Burgess, and whereas Ms. Kennedy relocated to New Jersey over 40 years ago and is a resident of the 4th Ward. Whereas she is the mother of 4 beautiful children, Daniel, Gregory, Warren Jr., and Vanessa. Whereas Helen Louise Kennedy played women professional football for the New York Phillies in 1972. And whereas her public service has extended from 2000 to the present as an employee of the city of Patterson, spanning the administration of 6 mayors, beginning with late Mayor Marty Barnes, Mayor Joey Torres, Mayor Jeffrey Jones, Mayor Ruby Cotton, Mayor Jane William Warren, and now Mayor Andre Sayre. And from 2000 through the present, she has worked for the betterment of the youth of our city. In the Division of Recreation as the Arts and Crafts Director, teaching crafts and knitting and crocheting and sewing under the leadership of our Director, Assemblyman Benji Wembley. Whereas Ms. Kennedy has volunteered for many city events, including National Night Out, festivals, summer camps, and community events. Whereas she is dedicated to her work and aspires to help everyone she comes in contact with. Therefore, it's be resolved by the Municipal Council of the City of Patterson that Helen Louise Kennedy is now recognized as a 2019 Black History Month honoree to receive the Mary Bethune-McLeod Award as an inspiration to everyone in our city. And I want to say thank you, thank you.
And giving honor to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, who is the head of my life. And I wouldn't be here today without him. And I just want to thank my family, my immediate family, my recreation family, my city family, and giving honor to my full board council person and the council, the honorable council here today, and Mayor Jane, and my Mayor Sayre. I just want to say thank each and every one of you for making this day a special occasion that the Lord had already ordained for me. And thank you for participating.
Please help me welcome to the podium the Councilman of the 5th Ward, True and Real Leadership, Councilman Louis Velez. Please help me give a round of applause.
Listen, he made my day today. You know, normally I'm a happy camper always. 5:46 in the afternoon yesterday, I received a virus in my computer that really pulled my mood a little bit down, a little bit sick today. But one thing I'm going to say is that we not profit in our own land. And what happened today here with the minister that came and spoke to us did a powerful work. There had to be somebody from far away to touch our heart to make us city better. We could listen to this word today. We needed to put in action immediately and put in action for the longest that we are here in the city. Today we honor a person that collectively, I didn't do it by myself. When they tell me I have to choose somebody to honor as we celebrate, I call his director. Director, I have a tough decision to make because you don't want to upset anyone. So the first individual I had to call is his head director. Director, tell me, lead me. Who should I appoint to get honored today? And the first thing that he told me to honor Kiva George. And I say, that's the one I was going to honor, but I got the confirmation. So I know that she's not here today, unavailably absent today, but however, her sister, Emma George and Melinda are going to receive the honor on her behalf. I would say a lot of things. Whoever don't know George, Kiva George, 31 years working in the city. Don't know no one. And me as a councilman and that love DPW workers and love that department, somebody told me one day, well, you don't run DPW instead of being councilman. So I say, well, it'd be good, but I love legislature. So it wasn't him, and either her. So the mayor, he did the wrong thing. He just shut my mic out, but I'm the legislative body. He's in my house. He works on the second floor. Just kidding. Please receive this. We have his assistant, please. Tell her that we love her. All these employees of the city of Patterson love her, and I know that she will be happy to receive it.
on behalf of my sister Kiva, and I thank the Lord for being here for her. Kiva is my baby sister. I remember she was working to a job she hated, and I'd come home every day complaining. So I happened to come downtown here and came to City Hall for some reason or other and saw a sign that help wanted. So I went back home and I sent her back down here and told her to fill out the application down here. And ever since then, she's been working for here with the City of Patterson. And she started out working here at City Hall with Miss James Williams and Lula. So she talked about them every day. She loved her job. And she's a hard worker, dedicated worker. She goes to work sick, no matter what. And she knows everybody. Everybody knows her. Everybody loves her. She's wonderful. And on the behalf, I thank you for my sister. Thank you.
Next to the podium is our own council president, Councilwoman at Large, Councilwoman Maritza Davenport.
Thank you. Congratulations once again to all of the honorees. It hasn't been mentioned, but each one of you is receiving a joint recognition resolution by the State of New Jersey on behalf of the Senate and the General Assembly. So this part of it, our Assemblyman Reggie Wimbley came to present them. Unfortunately, he was not able to stay. So I just wanted to make that acknowledgement. So today, I have an honor to knowing the Irving family, and I give thanks to God. It's very funny that the way that I met, not Herman, but first Chris Irving, and it was through his brother, his twin, that I was able to meet Herman Irving. A young man that anyone that knows him, and I want to thank the chief and to everyone that's here on behalf of the fire department, showing support and acknowledging the great individual that you have working for you and working for us. I was blessed then to meet Mama Irving, that's what I call her, and many times I've asked her for prayer. She's out sometimes in Washington, D.C., and once in a while I'll send a message. But today, this is about Herman E. Irving. And this resolution is honoring him with the Arthur Smokestack Hardy Award as part of the City of Patterson's 2019 observance of Black History Month. I want you to come up here, Fireman Irving. I want to read a little bit of, because it's important. Many may know who he is, right, but probably don't know all the things that he's done and the reason why he's being acknowledged today. As many have said here, there's many employees in the city of Patterson that have been given year after year, and many community leaders. Today I want to read a little bit about who Herman E. Irving is. Whereas the public service of Herman E. Irving III has extended from 2006 through the present day as a firefighter of the City of Patterson, and whereas while serving as a firefighter, he has attended training in urban search and rescue, confined space, EMT, and other areas of fire safety, and currently is assigned to the Chief's office, where he conducts public education for fire safety and firefighting improvement. And whereas he has attended Calvary Baptist Church for preschool, Blessed Sacrament School for elementary school, and Rosa Parks School of Fine and Performing Arts for high school, where he majored in vocal and drama, and he was an all-county athlete for Eastside High School, and continued his education at the William Patterson University, where he majored in kinesiology and education, and played 2 years of varsity football. And whereas he is loved and supported by his family, including his older brother, Vian, deputy for Portsmouth, Virginia County Corrections, his older sister, Farah, who's here today, attorney for the city of Irvington and the law office of Irving and Mendenhall, and his twin brother, Patterson Proud Chris Irving, a former Patterson School Board president and now the superintendent of Teaneck Public Schools. And whereas above all else, Herman E. Irving III is the proud father of Sanaya Jocelyn Irving, his beautiful 2-year-old daughter, whose energy and ever-growing vocabulary continue to inspire him to be the best daddy he can be for his buttercup. That is what he calls her. And whereas he is also active as an advisor of the Patterson Explorers Program, which partners with Patterson Police to help young men and women ages 14 through 18 learn about police, fire, and EMS, and all the while making sure these young men and women maintain at least a B average in school. And whereas he feels it is his duty to volunteer in his community and to make every effort to help those who need it, and that we must reach out to the youth as they live in the world that needs them. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Municipal Council of the City of Patterson that Herman E. Irving III is now recognized as a 2019 Black History Month honoree to receive the Arthur Smoltstack Hardy Award as inspiration to the community at large, signed by your council president and other council members. Congratulations.
Yes.
I just want to say thank you first and foremost. It's an honor for me to accept this award. Thank you to the entire City Council, Mayor, VA, Sonia. I told you I was going to say thank you because your work sometimes goes unnoticed, and I do want to say thank you for all of our work that you do in the city. It's my Chief Brian McDermott, Chief Kevin Hancock, Chief Ryan Murray, Chief Hector Almeida, and my partner in crime in public education and recruitment, Troy Ayers, and my awesome union president, Kyle Hughes, is here. I want to thank you guys for always supporting me and always having my back. One thing I'm very honored about is I came off the line of firefighting because I have a 2-year-old daughter that needed a lot more support. And Chief McDermott was with overwhelming joy to give me that opportunity to go into the field with Troy Ayers to do public education and recruiting. And for that, from the bottom of my heart, I say thank you very much. I love this city. I grew up at 369th Avenue when my father passed away when I was 2 years old, and from diabetes, and I never really got a chance to know him. So doing public education and recruiting and reaching out to the young men and women of the city has been something that I've always wanted to do because I know it's hard to grow up without having a role model or a father there. And my goal growing up was to say that I wanted to be a leader in the city. And for me to be able to give back to the young men and women is something that I will never stop doing, and I will continue doing until I get my last breath on this earth. Once again, I want to say thank you to everybody. Mama, I love you. Thank you for everything you did. All the beatings that you gave me that finally started to sink in. I gave her a hard time, but for a woman who was by herself to raise 4 children, it was very difficult because I'm understanding how hard it is to raise one child as a single parent by myself. So with that being said, I just once again want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. This is not the first, I should say last thing for me. You guys will be seeing me in a year or two, trying to make a change, trying to make a difference in the city, because I'm going to put my hat in the mix to run for school board in the city of Patterson.
Talking about taking advantage of the televised broadcast. So, before we move along, I really want to point out this fantastic program for today. I know that it did not happen to have some women on the cover, but it's still a fantastic, phenomenal program. And even, I also want to point out the page at the Patterson Fire Department. So Chief McDermott, I want to give you and all you guys a special thank you. There's a special page that pays homage to the African American community. And I want to point out the job that Herman, the entire department has done recruiting this last summer was phenomenal. So we continue to thank you for that. So, moving right along, I tell you what, Mr. G, whenever you have to deliver a food delivery for the program such as this, you never got to worry about being late. Always on time. Without further ado, let me bring our lovely councilwoman at large, the good doctor, the good reverend, councilwoman at large, Dr. Lisa Mills.
Good afternoon, everyone. And so, first, let me say congratulations and say that I honor all of our employees in the great city of Patterson. Approximately 2,000 people work in our city, and I believe you all deserve a round of applause. Let's clap our hands for every employee. You can do better than that. And in second, for all of our honorees, I celebrate you and I thank you for all of the hard work that you do throughout the city. I've worked with most of you a lot, and I want to thank you. But today, when it came time for me to select someone to honor, I always think about people that get honored all the time. And there's so many unsung heroes, so many diamonds, so many rubies, so many people that sometimes get overlooked, and we never acknowledge them. And so when the opportunity came to pick someone, I thought of this phenomenal woman of God. Come on. The person that I'm going to honor with the Rosa Parks Award is none other than Tamika Wiggins. Because Alicia Keys' song would be so profound that this girl is on fire. She started working for the city of Patterson in 1992. She has worked through 7 mayors, beginning with Congressman Bill Pascrell, the late Mayor Marty Barnes, Mayor Joey Torres, Mayor Jeff Jones, Mayor Ruby Cotton, Mayor Jane E. Williams-Warren, and now our Mayor Andre Sayad. She holds a Bachelor's of Science in Human Services from Springfield College, as well as a degree in Office System Technology from the State County Community College, my alma mater. And whereas she was first hired by City Clerk, later now we know as Mayor Jane E. Williams-Warren in 1992 as the Principal Clerk Stenographer, serving as Secretary to Councilwoman Vera Ames Garnes, Councilman Donald Hayden, and the rest of the Municipal Council. And whereas Tamika Wiggins then became Assistant to the Director of Public Works, the late Bob Washington, from 2000 to 2003. And whereas from 2003 through the present date, she has worked for the betterment of the youth of the city and the Division of Recreation under the leadership of our director and our assemblyman, Benji Wimberly. Whereas she became the recording secretary for the Patterson Community Health Center, governing board of directors under the leadership of Dr. Mary Gardner, CEO, as well as the recording secretary for the Community Charter School of Patterson of the Board of Trustees. Whereas Tamika Wiggins also established a business, TDI Secretarial Services, and she is the mother of Daniel and Isaiah Wiggins, as well as the wife of Daniel Wiggins, the daughter of William Bill Ellerby Jr., the stepdaughter of Gail Bailey Ellerby, and the sister of Billy and Terrell Ellerby. She lives her life by the verse in St. John's 4:4. Ye are of God, little children, and have overcome them, because greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. Now therefore, be it resolved by the Municipal Council of the City of Patterson, today we celebrate and acknowledge this Rosa Parks Award for your resiliency, for your beauty, for your tenacity, and most importantly, for your steadfastness and being a servant of God and serving the great city of Patterson. We acknowledge you, we salute you, and I say to you, you are a Patterson girl that is on fire.
I want to give an honor to God and thank God for everybody that's here. I want to thank God for his goodness and his mercy. Trust me, I couldn't do this without my team. I want to talk about my family members. I got to correct you on one thing, because you didn't say, you called my daughter Daniel. Her name is Danielle. She gave me such a look up here like, you didn't say my name. So I have to correct that. And I want to thank God for being here. I want to thank God for Jane Williams, who hired me. And if anybody know about Jane Williams, it's perfection all day long. You gonna do what you're supposed to do. And I thank Jane for showing me, because I came here at the young age of 21, not expecting to be here this long. If you asked my father, by the second week, I was like, I quit. It's too many bosses here. Jane, I had you listen to everybody. You gotta listen to these 9 people up here. You gotta listen to Jane. You gotta listen to Luther. You gotta listen to anybody that was under you. I said, oh no, this ain't gonna work. I can barely listen to one person. Now I'm gonna listen to 12 people. But I thank God for my perseverance and my determination to want to do what's right. I thank God for my father being here, my family members. I thank God for my cousin Tanya being here, taking off of work, because she takes off of work for nobody. But I thank God for her, and I truly thank God for all the giants that I came upon as I stood up. It took a group of people. You know, it took my pastor, Prophet Sadie Lee Miles from Louisville, Connecticut, teaching me how to call on the name of Jesus. Dad, it took your mom, Miss Catherine Ellerby. I put that in the resume, but then you make the rest up. She graduated from high school after raising 10 kids, and she did an article in the Herald News saying it's never too late to learn. And I never forgot that as a little child, because she was able to do what she had to do. And I'll never forget my late mother, Dear Alva Marshall Ellerby. She told me, and she left a little letter for me, and I just got it maybe like a couple of
nervous. I'll go right along. Please, with a warm round of applause, help me bring to the podium our Councilman at Large, Mr. Flavio Rivera.
Good afternoon, everyone. It has been a privilege to be part of the celebration. I am very excited. This has been a very fun time for me. But I do have to make a recommendation for the next time we do this. I don't know who's responsible for the sitting arrangements, but we had the 3 shortest council people sitting in the back. So for those of you that don't see me in a lot of the pictures, I was here. All right? So on a serious note, stand up for yourself. As a councilman, a lot of times you tend to point out many times when certain employees are not doing their job because, again, we're the voice of the people. And in the process of relaying that information, sometimes we have to do so. But today, I am glad that it's the other way around. I get to actually acknowledge someone's contribution to this city when it comes to their employment. Differently than many of my colleagues here, I actually worked with my next honoree, which is Crystal Klein. Yeah, for those of you who work in the city, you better clap it. Not just about processing your pages. So let me read this fast as the last speaker here. Crystal Klein was born in Patterson, New Jersey on June 30, 1967, and was the youngest of 3 siblings. She's the daughter of Evan Klein, who provided the City of Patterson the Health Department 33 years of service, and he's cousin to former Councilman William Bill Klein and Detective Howard Klein. So as you can see, she has a long history of public service in her family. I'm going to get up from reading this, Crystal, because I remember you working here. You've been here for 29 years now, right? This is coming from the heart. Forget whatever I wrote here, right? You work here for 29 years so far. But I remember you always having a part-time in the library. Yes. Now you have 20 years there. Yes. Something I remember of Crystal, though, she would never complain about going to her second job. Because I know, Crystal, based on what I read here, I know you did this because of your daughter, right? And you take pride. We might often, during the council meetings, address many issues about our finances and everything. But in reality, a lot of our, employees here are underpaid. Something I admire from Crystal, though, in those 3.5 years that I worked with you, Crystal, I noticed how you perform your job and how you always make sure you were the same Crystal every day. That's what's key. Sometimes you work with people and you don't know what to get from them. Yeah. Crystal's about doing her job to perfection, and those who pay bills here in the City of Patterson know that if your paperwork is not in order, she will not process your payment. Crystal, this is your day. It's not my day. You please drop the mic. Thank you. Yes, I get to be the front for this.
Hi everybody, so on behalf of all of us that have worked with Crystal many, many years, 30, 29, 25 years, we know how hard she's worked to maintain her daughter. She's been a single mom, she's been an excellent example to her family, and we love you. I would like to say thank you, Mayor, council members, and thank you, Mom. She's here. All right. She's always been here for me. She always led me in the right direction. I love you, Mom. Thank you for allowing me today.
tired of this. Madam Clerk, Miss Barbie, I'm getting blamed for everything. The cover, I ordered.
You're the chair.
I'm the chair, and I did order booster seats for the council. So in closing, the last honoree happens to be my honoree, and as well as spending a great number of years employed by the city, she's had the challenge of having a long time friendship with myself. So, as we watch some of those of our people become grab chairs of authority or power, we often have to have people around us to keep us grounded. And trust me, you don't need anybody else to keep you grounded. She doesn't call me councilman, she doesn't call me, she calls me sucker. What you need, sucker? But to be tasked with the job that we were tasked with today is difficult because there's so many people, even within her own office, there's so many women in that office and men in that office that are performing to a please, let's give you all of them. She does phenomenal work, but I'm going to record, I only chose her because if I didn't, she'd be beating me up later on tonight. But listen, I'm going to keep it very brief. And please help me give a warm welcome to my honoree, Ms. Janine Gatson. Whereas Janine Gatson was born in New York City and moved into Patterson at a young age of 10 years old. We've been driving us crazy ever since. Whereas Janine Jordan Gatson, which we call affectionately JJG, attended Patterson Catholic High School. You won't hold her accountable for that. And obtained her bachelor's degree from Morgan State University in Baltimore, Maryland, whereas Janine Gatson has started her career with the city of Patterson 22 years ago as a cashier for the tax collector's office, then became senior clerk and is now assistant tax collector. Whereas Janine Gatson is an active member of St. Luke's Baptist Church, where she serves on the women's ministry and mentors young girls. I will attest to that. And Janine Gatson is an avid reader with a favorite quote from Maya Angelou: "Be present in all things and thankful for all things." Now, therefore, be resolved by the Municipal Council of the City of Patterson that Janine Gatson is now recognized as a 2019 Black History Month honoree to receive the Shirley Chisholm Award, and it could not, I don't know who picked, it was the perfect award because she is perfect fit for her because she's on fire. So please help me give a great honor.
I'm trying not to cry. First, I'm going to give honor to God, who is the head of my life. And the wind beneath my wings. My mother and my grandmother. My mother couldn't be here. She's battling cancer, and she's having treatment today. But God is good, and she's doing very well. I'd like to thank the mayor, council people, my friend, Councilman Jackson. I would like to say a special thank you to someone who saw in me what other people did, Mayor Warren. Because of her, I'm in the position that I'm in now. And you have no idea how much I thank you. It means so much to me.
I just like to thank everybody. I know I was laughing at Christopher Carter, you know, I love you, Carter. But I just like to thank the people in my office who are phenomenal, contrary to what sometimes people hear at the tax office. They are phenomenal people and they work hard. Even when they're not getting paid, they work hard. But I would just like to thank everybody, and I feel so honored. My mother always told me, people do not have to be nice to you. And when they are nice to you, you should be grateful for it. And I appreciate it so much. Thank you.
I want to thank everyone for being patient. This is extremely important to all of us. Again, we chose to select employees, and as you can see, just from the responses and the level of appreciation, sometimes it's unimaginable. So somebody could work for the city for 29 years and not be recognized for the hard work that they do. So we definitely wanted to take that opportunity to do that. We're following suit from a previous program that did the same. We wanted to make sure that we take a moment to acknowledge our people. So I want to once again thank each and every one of you for all the hard work you do and congratulate all of you. It's very much so well deserved. All of your co-workers as well who help you guys do the work that you do. We want to show our appreciation to all of you. I want to give a special shout out to Buzz and Emoji, the young people that have sat through. Trust me, we had a long planning nights. We talked about keeping it short, but you know, sometimes it just don't work out the way you plan to. But you guys have been wonderful. You've been great, and I hope that the amount of time that we spent, you guys take something from this and continue to carry the torch forward to those generations that come after, because it's extremely important that we never forget. So. Okay, the students from Panther Academy as well. We want to make sure we acknowledge you guys. So thank you. To everyone, our clerk staff for doing a wonderful job. You know, we had an honoree who actually worked on the piece, which is a phenomenal piece. Again, please snap some pictures of that. Don't allow that piece to go without being recognized. We acknowledge the committee. I honored the committee once more. We've run over on time, so that's about it. We're going to wrap it up. We're calling on the good reverend, the good doctor, the good councilwoman at large. We're urging her to keep it brief, powerful, strong, and get the people moved, but do it short and sweet. Reverend Mims, if you mind closing us out. Thank you to DPW for helping us set this up. Mayor Warren, obviously you touched everyone. And I thank you also.
Amen, and we'll stand. We are grateful for the time that we've spent. We're grateful for the messages we've heard. We're grateful for the people we have honored. And we're thankful for the food that's been prepared. Now, as we leave this place, make sure we never forget the struggles, the sacrifices, and all that has taken place throughout the course of life to our ancestors. And let's not forget, we're not just Black on February 1st. We are Black 365 days of the year. God bless you and have a great afternoon.